You're probably making at least three of these ChatGPT mistakes right now. After hundreds of conversations across many different industries, I've ranked the worst offenders. These mistakes are likely quietly killing your productivity and taking hours away from you every single week. So let's fix that, starting with number 8. All right, so there are many different mistakes that people make with ChatGPT. I've just pulled out 8 that are the worst offenders, and I've ranked them in reverse order. So this is number 8, and we'll work our way up to number 1. Now, the first one here is going to be single threaded conversations. What does that mean? It means that somebody is running on a conversation when they shouldn't. So you should start a fresh conversation for two reasons. One, either you've changed the topic, which we'll do for T, or two, your context is being bloated, it's being run on. So, what do I mean by context? So, this is basically the memory of the AI, how much memory or information you can stuff into the AI's head without its intelligence degrading. And we'll start with that one first because that's what this graph represents. So, this graph here on the vertical axis is the intelligence of the AI, so higher is better. And then down here on the horizontal axis, we have the context window. So this is how full it is. So on the right-hand side, it's really full. On the left-hand side, it's not full at all. And you can see the connection here, where when there's less context in the context window, which is basically think of the AI's head, when there's less information in the AI's head, it's going to be more intelligent. But the more information that we shove into the AI's head that's irrelevant or contradicting or a variety of other things, the intelligence is going to degrade over time. The way we can avoid this is when you start to see the AI making reoccurring errors or going in the wrong direction in a consistent way, you need to stop, pause. You need to ask the AI specifically to summarize the area of the conversation you care about. So be targeted in what it summarizes. It'll summarize that in a one pager. Once you've had it summarized in a one pager, you're going to start a fresh conversation and you're going to revert back to a less full context window for the AI's head. And you're going to put this summary in there. You're going to start the conversation again. By doing this, you're going to increase the chances of the AI achieving the task you want it to. That's the first one is context. The next one is new conversations. So let's say this green box here is one really big conversation you're having with AI. And we'll say that this first portion here is going to represent a conversation with you and the AI about cat clothing and different types of clothing you can put on your cats. But then you want to change the conversation. And down here, you change the conversation to how to trade Bitcoin effectively. So tips and tricks on buying and selling Bitcoin. So you can see these are completely separate topics. But often I see this time and time again where somebody will have the same conversation with the AI in the same thread, changing the topic back and forth. By doing this, you're confusing the AI because everything that is said prior here is going to be included in the context, so in the AI's head. So it's going to be thinking about cat clothing, Bitcoin, and anything else you talk about with the AI in that thread. So it's important to state that if you're going to have a new conversation on a separate topic, you should create a completely separate conversation and talk only about that topic in that thread. This is going to give you a higher quality response based off the task you're giving to the AI. Now, that's our first culprit, single threaded conversations. The next issue is over relying on memory. Within ChatGPT, there's a very specific feature called memory. And I'll actually show you this and show you what it looks like. So if I go into ChatGPT and I go to my settings down here, I select my face, go to settings, and if you go to personalization and then you scroll down, you'll see there's a section here called memory. So what memory is it's remembering different aspects of your preferences when interacting with AI. This is useful, but it's useful for smaller subsets of things. And what I see people doing is they're relying too much on memory and not enough on the dedicated tools to improving the AI's output for a specific task. So we have memory, we have GPTs and projects. The intention of memory is to remember a small subset of things, such as your favorite color, preferences around writing style in general, where you live, maybe what you do for work, things like that. General items about you and about your life and about the general things you prefer when interacting with AI. But when it comes to a very specific task, like writing a certain type of report, doing a certain type of analysis on a data set on a recurring basis, doing a certain type of research on a recurring basis. So anything that's repetitive and that's somewhat deep in nature, you want to dedicate that to a GPT or a project. By doing this, you're going to increase the likelihood that the AI is going to achieve given task because you've given it a very thorough system prompt for this specific GPT or project, and you've also given it a series of files that it can reference to know what good looks like when it's performing this task. So don't rely solely on memory for very specific and repetitive tasks. Only rely on memory for generalized things that the AI can then utilize across conversations irrelevant of what the task is. So don't over rely on memory. That's the second mistake. Oh, hey, Quick pause in your regular programming. This video is brought to you by me. Two quick things. First, below is the 30-day AI Insight series, completely free. You'll get 30 insights in your inbox of how you can apply AI to your business and your work. The second thing is if you'd like to work with me, I have a series of offerings below to see if there's a good fit between the two of us. With that being said, let's get back into the video. The third one is typing, not talking. So this really cool animation that we have here depicts different ways that we can have throughput with AI. So this first one here is typing. The second one here is speaking. The third one here is reading. You can see that reading is the fastest, words per minute, speaking second fastest, typing is the least fast. Now what we want to do is we want to increase the ability to communicate with AI faster. And the reason we want to do that is if we remove the friction of communicating with AI, we're going to provide more context to it on a recurring basis. So my advice to anybody is to use dictation as much as possible. And by doing this, you're going to speak to the AI. So this is going to be the speaking process. You're speaking to AI. That's then converted to text that you feed to the AI, and then it writes back to you. And we can speak faster than we type, and we can read faster than we listen, or at least skim read faster than we listen. And by combining these two, we're increasing the throughput between ourselves and the AI, giving it more context and getting more context from it. So use dictation as much as possible instead of typing all the time. Our next mistake is simply replacing ChatGPT with Google. So what I see people do is they'll just ask Google-like questions to ChatGPT and that's it, and nothing else. That's a big mistake. Don't do that. Reason being is that we've been trained to ask Google-like questions over the many decades that we've had the internet and access to Google or Google-like search. And in here, you can see we have a basic question like best laptop of 2025. So this is a Google-like question because we're asking for key terms. We're doing keyword search on a database. But when you're talking to AI and you're having it, maybe you're using it for research. And if you're using it for research purposes, you need to provide it more context so it can have a tailored response back to you and give you the exact answer you need. To do that, you should use dictation to provide context on what you're trying to achieve, the sources you care about getting that data from, any specific outcomes you expect from the research, and or insights that you're looking for from the research. And then a bonus tip here when you're doing research and to avoid the Google style search is use GPT-5 extended thinking with web search enabled. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in a second. Let's go look at that. So if I go to ChatGPT, I open up chat here. I'm going to go to this drop down, and if you pay for Plus, which is $20 a month, you're going to have access to Auto, Instant, and Thinking. You're going to choose Thinking because it's a more intelligent model. You're going to get a blue button that pops up here. You're going to select this drop down, and you're going to have two options if you have Plus. You're going to have Standard and Extended. I'm going to recommend Extended because that's more thinking involved. You're going to do this plus button here. You're going to go to more and then web search. So what you have now is you have web search enabled. You have extended thinking enabled. You're going to use the dictation tool here to provide as much context as possible so the AI then can go off and find all the information you need for a given task or question, and it'll come back with a very high quality response. So the moral of the story of this one is don't use ChatGPT like Google. Don't use basic keyword searches. Instead, provide the context it needs using the high quality power that it has behind its intelligence to get better responses. Our next mistake is underusing advanced voice mode or not using it at all. This is oftentimes, I see people don't even know this exists, and you can use it for a variety of use cases that are really useful. And some that I listed out here is practice for sales. Maybe you're preparing for sales and you want to train up your sales team. Well, you can set up a given persona inside of ChatGPT. You can have your sales team negotiate with that persona. So it could be a skeptical CFO or something like that. And they can practice role playing and then they can go into the field and practice for real. Another one is prepping for presentations or maybe prepping for an interview. You can do that as well with advanced voice mode. Give it a persona of a certain type of person you're presenting to and or interviewing being interviewed by, and you can prep for that as well. And then role playing on the go. This is a really good one for therapy. So maybe you want to have a conversation around interpersonal relationship skills and communication. You can have a very specific persona for a therapist, and you can have that conversation while you're on the go, either driving or walking. Now, how do you get access to this? Well, in ChatGPT, if you go here, this button here that says advanced voice mode, this is the conversation. So what's happening is you're going to talk to AI and it's going to talk back to you. So it's voice to voice. And the beautiful part about ChatGPT today is this is available in the mobile app. And it's very good, like I said, to do on the go. But also if you want to give it a dedicated persona, you can set up a system prompt inside of a project. So if I go to the sidebar here, I go to my projects, you can create a new project. Once you've created a new project, you can give it a system prompt and give it a persona. With that persona, you can do that role playing and the practice and everything I stated previously by using advanced voice mode in that project and or custom GPT. And that's our other mistake is underusing voice mode. Our next mistake here is writing prompts from scratch. So since I've dedicated an entire video to this topic, we're going to do this one very quickly. You can watch that here. The two things that you need to learn here is when writing prompts, you should have AI write them for you. You can do that in two ways. One is you can have an AI research the best practices for prompting a given model, such as GPT-5, Opus 4.1, etc. You can say research best practices for this model, then use those best practices that you research to write a prompt on my behalf for this task, and it'll do that for you, and you'll have an improved prompt. And you can take that prompt and you can feed that into a prompt optimizer where OpenAI and Anthropic both have prompt optimizers that will rewrite your prompts using best practices for their models specifically and then inject that into your prompt, improving it. So you can use tools and AI to optimize your prompts and you don't have to write them from scratch. Now we're moving on to the top two mistakes. So our second mistake here is all around the usage of AI and not using it enough. So when I see people, or at least beginners, play around with ChatGPT, they don't really know when to use it, so they don't use it that often. And that's a big mistake because we need a lot of exposure to AI so we can build proper AI intuition for knowing how to use it and when to use it. And I think this chart represents that really effectively. So here we have vertical axis, which represents understanding. So how well does somebody understand how to utilize AI effectively? And then we have on the horizontal axis usage frequency. So how often do they use the AI? And you can see the more frequently they use AI, their understanding increases. And here we have AI intuition. Now, the important part here is embracing failure and being okay with the fact that you can fail with AI consistently, and that's all right, because through that process of failure, you're going to learn on how to make the most of these tools. I recommend always having open in another tab inside of your Chrome browser, your Firefox browser, or whatever else, a tab dedicated to ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever tool you're using. Always go to that tool anytime you have a question or a repetitive task that you run into. And by doing this over and over and over, even if the question you know is likely impossible for the AI to answer, you're going to figure out what are the boundaries of AI, what it can do and what it can't do. And by doing that, your understanding is going to increase and you'll eventually build a stronger intuition of when to leverage AI. That's number two. And number one is going to be a mindset shift. So this is going to be the shift from a scarcity mindset into a abundance mindset. And this goes all around the concept of intelligence becoming a commodity. If we're having AI commoditized and everybody can get access to it, we're commoditizing intelligence to a degree. And we need to embrace that. And that means that we can use these tools abundantly, sampling them and seeing what different outputs look like. And this chart here represents a point that I wanted to make around iterations. So here we have a starting point. This is the same starting point. And what this represents is maybe we make a slight change to a prompt. So here we have prompt A coming out here in the light blue, and we land in this position. But here we have prompt B. So this is prompt A, this is prompt B. So for prompt B, we're going to make a slight change. Maybe we add 1 or 2 words to the prompt. And by just adding 1 to 2 words, we have a slight deviation in the trajectory. But at the end of this trajectory, we get in a completely different location. And maybe this location where prompt B is exactly what we wanted, but if we never tried multiple attempts with the same prompt or slight variations of the prompt, we would have never known that AI could actually achieve what we wanted it to. We would have assumed that it could only get to point A. And there are different ways that one can go about this. I just have four here, 4 different levels of ways that I do this, but there are many different ways. But I'm going to show you the 4 that I use. So the first one here is asking the same question to the same model multiple times. So why would we want to do that? Well, if you ask the same question to the same model, these models, they're probabilistic in nature. What does that mean, probabilistic? It simply means that when you input the same exact item, the output may vary even if the input's the same with the same model. And by doing this multiple times, you can see the different outputs that arrive. So an example here is maybe you have the AI write 5 different emails with the same input to see if there's a specific variant that you like. Or maybe you have the AI create 5 different visuals for a presentation, and you can A/B test those and see which one you prefer based off of either the same input or slightly variations. And that's going to be our next level, which is making a slight variation to the prompt, but running it through the same model. So maybe you have 5 different variations of a prompt with maybe 1 or 2 word changes, and you give it to the same model and multiple threads. So these are all new conversations, and you're seeing how the outputs look. The next level is asking the same question, but to different intelligence levels of the same model. So like I mentioned inside of ChatGPT, we have different levels of intelligence. We have auto instant thinking. And then even within thinking, you have standard and extended. If you have the plus version, and if you have pro, you have light, standard, extended, and heavy. So these are different levels of reasoning. So you can use those different levels of reasoning to see the outputs that equate to those. And it's important to note that the level of reasoning or intelligence doesn't always equate to better. I found time and time again that if there's a very specific task that I have, if I give that task to a really smart model, it may overthink and overreason and go in the wrong direction. And this has been proven out through research. So if you have a simple task or a simple question, that may be more optimal for a less intelligent or lower reasoning model to achieve that task for you faster and also more accurately. So it's okay to ask the same question to different levels of intelligence. And then finally, the one that I prefer and I like to do the most, which is asking the same question to different models. So I'll ask the same question, for instance, for visuals. I can ask Claude Sonnet 4.5, GPT-5, Grok 4, and Gemini 2.5 Pro all to create different visuals for me or the same visuals for me and seeing what their outputs look like. I then can A/B test the visuals. I can then grab different things that I like from each and combine them into one. So these are four different levels of being abundant in your mindset and using the AI in a way that's more abundant in nature and not scarce. And as a quick recap, the 8 mistakes that I see people make time and time again are first, single threads. So you're staying in the same conversation, you're not starting new conversations when you should. You're over relying on memory when you should be using projects or GPTs. You're typing and not talking when you should be using dictation. You're using ChatGPT as a replacement for Google, which is a bad move. You are underusing advanced voice mode for different types of tasks that are outside of what most people do. You're writing your prompts manually when you should use AI to do so. You're not using AI enough because you're probably overwhelmed by the vast nature of what it can do, but instead you should embrace failure and do this more often. And then finally, you have the mindset of scarcity because historically intelligence has always been scarce. But now that it's a commodity, we need to take an abundance mindset and sample the outputs from these AIs to figure out what's suitable for us. And that's it. That's the video. So if you enjoyed this, please reshare it with your friends. And like I said previously, two things. One, below is the 30-day AI Insight series. Completely free, you'll get insights in your inbox of how you can apply AI to your business and your work. The second thing is if you'd like to work with me, below is a series of offerings that I have to see if there's a good fit between the two of us. With that being said, you should check out the next video, which is going to be around here because YouTube Gods thinks that you'll love it. See you next time.